Good afternoon. I've been walking around with the Garbage Pail Kids tarot deck that someone gave to me when recently they saw me talking about it to someone else about them getting one. Anyway, yeah, I've been walking around with it at home today. Gonna do a reading. And then I was like, yeah, inner child reading for us 80s kids who I think were probably the first to get the Garbage Pail Kids trading card stuff. And because yeah, it was a spin-off of Cabbage Patch Kids, wasn't it? Anyway, so we'll do an inner child reading today, and like I said, I'm going to use the Garbage Pail Kids tarot, but I've also got these little let me get the other one too without them all falling all over the place. I'm going to pull some cards to get a sense, one from the fear deck and one from the self-esteem deck, just to give us a basis of what kinds of things we might be talking about today with our inner child. All right, so we will start with the fears. It's a lovely day here today. The sun is shining, it's warm. My favorite time of year is approaching. My least favorite time of year is behind me for now. So shout out to all those that get SADs. It's not a fun experience to experience like depression from the weather. Yeah. Some people get it in like the warmer months and some of us get it in the colder months. So I am a summer baby through and through. Alright, one last one of these and then we'll see what cards want to come out for the fears. We'll take two from each. Well, let's say two for now, but we'll see if any more than that fly out while I'm shuffling. So, alright, there's one, which is let go of the fears that are anchored in past experiences. And that's card 8, which is my favorite number. And fear is a self-created illusion based on expectation, judgment, and past experiences. How you respond is your choice. I already have some issues with this card. Do I go into them now or do I wait until we're like right into the reading? I mean, to a degree, fear is self-created, but fear is also created by a very violent society. So let's not take all this on board that we are somehow at fault for feeling fear, because I do believe that there's people that create these decks at times who don't have great experience of what it's like to be other people from different backgrounds with different needs. So I talked recently on my threads about, you know, that fear for childhood trauma survivors and those that have survived domestic violence and war zones and all of those kinds of things. Fear is both very rational and at times very irrational. And I say that as someone with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Are my fears rooted in past experiences? Yes. But are my fears also rooted in probability of recurrence? Yes. Someone from a war zone rationally knows once they've escaped and they're settled in a new country, that they're not going to be bombed in that new country. Like you say, they come here to Australia. But their body remembers, their subconscious remembers from the trauma, so much so that fireworks are a trigger, and the response that trauma can bring out with things like that is I mean, that's the irrational part. We know rationally that's not happening. But fear from what has happened is now controlling the situation. And that part is not rational. Anyway, sorry for my little ramble. Let's get some more cards out. Bottom of the deck, actually, I just noticed that is, don't fear your greatness. It's time for you to step up and lead. I think that's an important reminder that so many of us that do have childhood trauma can have levels of perfectionism around ourselves and how we do things. And I'll tell you a funny story. I am a real perfectionist when it comes to cooking, right? So much so that if something is not exactly how I want it, I used to throw it out. I would melt down over fucking food. I'm not so much like that now, but I've been healing a lot of that need to be perfect. But yeah, anyway, that's what came to my head when I read that card. So, random thoughts of sin. Like, I think now about the fact that I used to do that, and I think, sin. All of that food wastage, all because, like, when I ran my business, you know, I'm probably not the best person to be in charge of quality control when it comes to my own stuff, because like the levels I hold myself to are just ridiculous. So here we go. We'll get a couple of cards from the self-esteem one. Fuck, I've spent 10 minutes just yapping pretty much. Sorry about that. I think one thing I'll never be like a perfectionist type with is picking my own fruit and vegetables from fruit shops. I know not everyone has the access to be able to go to a fruit shop and pick out their own fruit and veg, and there's no judgment here at all. But for me, I won't eat an apple that I haven't picked myself, or a mango. There's a few other things as well, but yeah. I have my way I like my fruit and veg. Alright, let's see what comes out for these ones. And then we'll pull some tarot to get a little bit more information about, you know, the things we need to do in order to be able to let go of the fears anchored in past experiences. Because it's not as simple as going, hey, see ya. It's like, it's a thing you've got to work through. You've got to heal parts of yourself in order to be able to do that. And here we go. Cultivate self-trust. You have become overly reliant on the help and advice of others. Self-trust is something I have been working on this year, because self-betrayal is something that I do. And it's time that stopped. Whoops, 2 have flipped over, so we're going to get 3 blue ones. So this one's talking about having rigid beliefs and inflexible thought processes. Me? A fixed sign? No way. Are making it near impossible for people to find middle ground. Be willing to see things from a different perspective. Look, there's some beliefs that I have that, fuck you, I'm not shifting. For example, Free Palestine. There is no middle ground when it comes to genocide. No middle ground. Every fence you try and sit on is going to impale you. Anyway, next card. Redefine your self-beliefs as they are interfering with your relationships. Babes, I would have to have relationships. No, actually, I do. I've got lots of friends. You are lovable and deserve supportive relationships. But yes, I have been reevaluating some of my self-beliefs this year. You know, there was a bit of a tower moment for me in January, and it's given me the opportunity to start doing things that I've needed to do for a while, like actually like myself, love myself even, know that I am worthy and deserving of respect. That I have some really unhealthy things that come out of me when I'm fearful, scared, upset, hurt, that I've needed to really go in and hold my inner child in ways that I have failed to. Go in and, you know, have a good laugh with my inner teenager and remind teenage Sin that, you know, they were surviving. To have a look at Sin the mum and actually go, you know what? Yeah, you made some mistakes along the way, but you have actually been an excellent mum. And you've always, I know I've always taken accountability when I've needed to with my kids, said sorry when I needed to, and worked on myself for most of their childhood. Because one of my biggest fears was being like my own mother. And I also had to look at that because I was so fearful of being like her, which I'm not really anything like her. Sure, there's things about me that are like my mum because she's my mum. But I went so far the other way that I've had to reel myself back in again. But yeah, my adult kids remind me all the time what a great mum I've been. And for so long, I didn't think I was worth a pinch of shit. And anyway, that's changed. That has freaking changed. Anyway, so there's some of the self-beliefs that you need to look at. You know, how you actually look at yourself. How you look at your own accomplishments in life. I may not have a degree or own my own house or whatever, but I successfully completed rehab almost 24 years ago. That'll be at the end of October. I've raised 3 children to adulthood, and they're all right. I survived a horrendous marriage and still managed to raise 3 fantastic kids. I do all right. Anyway, that's me. I'm a bit waffly today, but anyway, you get that on the big jobs. Let's do some tarot to go with this to see what advice the tarot has, or specifically the Garbage Pail Kids have for you all. And of course, this isn't just for the 80s kids. This can be for any inner child, any person wanting to work on the inner child that happened to also like the Garbage Pail Kids, and they weren't born in the 80s, so So first let's have a look at card 8 about letting go of fears anchored in past experiences. What kinds of things, tools, techniques, those kinds of things could we put into practice to help us let go? But before we're even at the space where we can let go, because I know some people are not really at the space of being able to let go yet of the fears, and that's okay, no judgment. All in good time. And whenever it happens, you'll be right on time. So, what advice do the collective need when it comes to getting ready to let go of fears? Okay. We have got the 3 of Coins. Let's have a look and see what the garbage pail kids say about that. But my first feeling about the 3 of Coins, sorry, I've got pins and needles in my feet. Sugar. 3 of Coins is generally about like building together. So in relation to what we could do to get ready, to get ourselves ready to be able to let go of those fears or face those fears, I'm getting a really strong sense of community building more than structure building. But the other word that keeps coming to mind is safety, a feeling of safety. Actually, that's something I was thinking about earlier. You know, the weird thing about being a childhood trauma survivor and then also surviving a horrific marriage that nearly killed me, among other things. Safety is something that we are seeking always, but when you don't know what safety feels and looks like, we tend to seek safety in the familiar, which finds us back in situations where old patterns come up. And one thing that I've learned this year is that I needed to find safety in myself. And part of that is self-trust. Being able to trust that my decision making, trust my intuition, trust what I'm sensing, trust what I can't see. But I think, yeah, the first place of finding safety is finding safety internally, feeling safe with yourself. And that comes through a lot of work of being able to fix the discombobulation in your brain and the way thoughts just fly at you intrusively, like you've got to find your own way, I guess, of what works for you when it comes to being able to calm the brain down, calm the nervous system down, regulate emotions as best you can within the society that we're in. And I've spoken before about ways that I do that is journaling. Like, honestly, when I look at some of my like dysregulated brain thoughts, I think to myself, fuck, Sin. Thank God you didn't say that out loud to anybody. But like, I don't know, the more I do it, the less this yaps at me and attacks me, I guess. By doing that work all the time, the journaling and then the meditation type stuff. As an ADHD, a meditation is really hard. As a complex post-traumatic stress disorder person, meditation has always been quite traumatic. So yeah, like, I meditate for as long as I possibly can. But it's about 10 minutes or so that it's recommended for. Regulating my breathing was really hard because I don't think I've ever been a person that can regulate their own breathing. I think back to primary school, and I was a super sporty kid. I loved sport, but freaking cross country would kill me because I couldn't regulate my breathing. Because I couldn't regulate my breathing, my heart rate would be irregular. But have slowly gotten on top of that this year too, and I spend multiple times every day sitting and doing controlled breathing for a few minutes. Emotional regulation became a thing for me when I stopped shaming my emotions and stopped seeing some of them as bad, like putting them in a hierarchy. They're fucking, it's energy in motion in my body. And instead of trying to push those feelings away by using shame, I sat with them and I started observing them, and I sat and waited to see what came up in my head, so I could look at what wound the feelings were actually coming from. And a lot of it's come from inner child and inner teenager stuff. And the more I've been addressing that this year, the stuff that happened in my marriage and beyond has been a lot easier to process, which is kind of good. Anyway, let's see what the book says about the Three of Pentacles. Sorry, I'm a real rattle. I'm like waffling on today, and I'm not meaning to, but... All right, Three of Coins says, friends, rascals, ruffians, lend me your tissues. Asking for help from others is the best way to get what you want now. No one can do everything by themselves 100% of the time. Sometimes collaboration is necessary. Embrace the advice and expertise of others. So again, like that community feel, finding safety within a community that you feel like it's a safe space for you to explore those fears even before going on letting them go. But maybe explore them and see what they're rooted in. And yeah, and see where to go from there. Feeling like community and safety is really important. Interestingly though, bottom of the deck was the devil. So that's an underlying energy for this. So the devil definitely is I mean, it can represent substance abuse, toxic type behavior, manipulation, and but it can also be about fear, our fears. So yeah, just giving us a bit of a, yep, we're talking about the right thing here. Now let's see if we can get the fuck you card for the next one about fear being a self-created illusion. Not saying it never is, not saying it never is, but there are people in this society that it is exactly that. It's being created. It's an illusion they've created themselves, much like how settlers have this silly illusion that, you know, if us black fellas had a chance, we would do to them what they did to us, you know. That's a self-created illusion. That's guilt and shame. All right. So, bottom of the deck is the Two of Swords, which signifies an energy of, I mean, she's wearing a blindfold, right? So she doesn't want to look. She doesn't want to look at the heartbreak and pain associated with the past experiences that they do have a choice in how they respond to. All right, choice being the operative word. And you know, an important thing I've learned is a lot of energy is love or it's fear, right? But it's about, I guess, really having the courage to take off the blindfold and have a look at the wounds of the things that have happened to you, not because of you, but to you, that have created fears that might possibly be wrapped in a type of illusion. Allowing you the opportunity to look at how then you can respond to those particular fears that you do have some choice over changing how you respond, right? Let's see what the book says, because I'm going to read what the book says for all the, what have we got? The Three of Swords. All right. You're feeling as though you've been stabbed in the heart like a poor heartbreak Harvey. This tarot card represents heartache, betrayal, and painful twists of fate. Remember that the pain won't last forever, even though it seems like it will in the moment. Take care of yourself and focus on healing from the upheaval. So this really reminds me too, when it comes to healing and looking at those really shadowy parts that have formed so much of how we have shown up through life. However hard it is to face those things, it is temporary. It's a different length of temporary for different people. But once you have done the initial healing on it, any future healing that you have to do, because hey, I hate to tell you, but sometimes you need to revisit this stuff. But the next time it's easier to look at. It's less hard on you. It takes less energy. It has less of a toll on your mental capacity, all those kinds of things. But unless you're willing to take the blindfold off and look at it, then there's this level of control that fear is going to have over you. All right. So let's talk about how the collective might cultivate self-trust within themselves. What advice do we have for the collective about cultivating self-trust? The Magician. And the underlying energy, Page of Wands. So, Page of Wands is, especially this is an inner child healing reading. So, for me, in this reading, the Page of Wands is talking about our inner child. And wands represent creative energy, intuitive energy, our passions, action taking, momentum-y type stuff. So the underlying energy here, I'm saying your inner child is asking for you to start tapping into your things you loved in childhood, you know? Don't be afraid to bring that part of you back out to life, you know? This colonial society will tell us that, you know, we've got to be a certain way when we're adults. I disagree. I strongly disagree. I think keeping that child in us alive, happy, loved, seen is so important. It's so important. For us, it nourishes us, you know? Anyway, the Magician. Sorry, I am a real waffler today. The Magician is a major arcana card, and it is the card number 1. So, as you can imagine, the Magician is about magic. Bring magic back into your life. Think about cultivating, manifesting the type of internal happiness that you want. Not external, but internal. Where you wake up in the morning and are glad to get out of bed. Where you lay down in bed at night and your brain isn't flooded with regret or trauma or, you know, the shitty stuff. One's beginning of a new journey. So this is a new journey that you have to have with yourself and your inner child. And it really is about bringing the magic back in yourself. Not being afraid to be who you are, I guess. But let's see what the book says anyway. The magician represents someone as wildly inventive as the kooky scientist Mad Max. If inspiration strikes you, act on it. If you have the creativity and excitement needed to concoct your wildest dreams. Don't sell yourself short. The impossible may just end up being possible after all if you have the courage to try. So yeah, it's tying back into the bottom of the deck energy of, you know, creativity and imagining for yourself how you would cultivate who you are, manifest being who you want to be, and do that through creative means, tapping into your creative energies. All right. Now, when it comes to rigid beliefs and inflexible thoughts, what advice do you have? And if you drop out the Hangman to me, I'm going to scream at you. Okay, let's see what we can get here. Whoa, hang on. We got 3. Let's take those 3 because I'm being called to. Okay. So, saying some of our rigid beliefs are leaving us with a feeling of having 10 swords stabbed into us. Not a very pleasant experience. But that change is needed, and that you really need to, I guess we all need to be really honest with ourselves about our beliefs and our willingness to compromise with our thought processes. We don't need to find a middle ground with everybody, because some people don't want to find a middle ground with us, and that's okay. That's okay. But there are those connections and relationships that we have in our life where they mean a lot to us. And it's worth finding a middle ground. But remember, there's no middle ground on genocide. But yeah, being truthful and honest and taking action where needed. let's read the book for those three. Swords, swords, wands. Ten of Swords is... This card represents a very painful, devastating loss. So like I said, it can leave you feeling like you've either been stabbed in the back or... But yeah, it's in a space of grief or... Yeah, loss. But remembering... Tens represent completion and a new beginning. Like the unfortunate Pendulum, you feel like challenges are coming at you from all sides, whether this refers to the loss of a job, a dream, a project you were invested in, or an important personal connection. It's likely that this ending was sudden. Give yourself time to process what has happened and focus on healing your heart. So healing your heart will allow you to then be able to take in other people's perspectives a little bit easier, right? The Five of Wands represents feeling threatened. Whether you're locked in fierce competition with someone or someone's just outright trying to take what's yours, this card indicates that you're caught in conflict. Now, this conflict can be with yourself, right? But like I said, like if you're so rigid in some of your beliefs, that is going to create conflict with the people around you. And in order to address that, you're going to have to take a good, hard look at you and be really honest with yourself. Whether you're locked in a fierce competition with someone or someone's just outright trying to take what's yours, this card indicates that you're caught in conflict. Follow your gut feelings when sorting out this tricky situation and use ingenuity to approach problem solving creatively. All right, so get creative with your thinking. And then the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords puts a real action and momentum behind their goals. So start making changes. And that's about all it's got to say. And then let's get one more card because I need to pee and I can't pause it. So let's get a card for the final one of redefining your self-belief as they're interfering with relationships. You are lovable and deserve supportive relationships. Let's see what comes out for that. Two of Cups. I'm just going to say it. Pour love into your relationships. Pour it into yourself. What's overflowing, give it to your relationships. All right? I need to pee, so I'm going to call it quits here. All right. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.